Chat, this is my Penacony prediction for the plot. Okay, based off of a few things that we learned in the live stream. Shout out to the homie Phantasm for kind of putting me on game on this. So, chat, it has to do with the fact that Duke Inferno is going to become a weekly boss in Penacony and will be the main antagonist to the story in Penacony. In the same way that the Doomsday Beast was the main enemy, the main evil on the space station. In the same way that Cocolia was the main enemy, the main evil on Arillo 6 and Fantilia on the Lawfu, so will Duke Inferno fit that role, fit that build on Penacony. And here is why we know that. So, if you guys have never taken the time to look through the backstory of the Ashblazing Grand Duke Set, it's got a lot of info specifically on Duke Inferno, and it does a little bit of foreshadowing. But before we get into that foreshadowing, before we take a look at it, let's reference how he is talked about. Not him specifically, but reference what is said in the live stream here, specifically by Sunday. So take a listen to what they have to say.
Needless to say, safety is our primary concern. And so, the devoted and courageous Bloodhound family will be responsible for security at the festival.
So we're talking about safety,
Danger
security.
does not exist in Penacony's dreams. And the family promises that the safety of every guest is guaranteed.
We're promising
Of course,
safety.
The family is also forgiving. Perhaps you are a member of the Annihilation Gang, or even the Stellaron Hunters.
So we're talking about like guaranteeing safety. We want to make sure that, everybody coming to this festival on Penacony is safe. They're worrying about securities, and they're saying that the family is forgiving. Our doors are open to people, even if you've got a bad reputation, even if you're looked at as like the bad guys in the universe, being the Annihilation Gang and the Stellaron Hunters. Both of those are going to come into play here. So, let's take a look at what the databank tells us about the Annihilation Gang. So, they are a subset of the Destruction, but they are not looked at like fondly by Nanook, the Eon of Destruction, because they are not pure enough. The reason the Annihilation's gang's goal behind their thirst for destruction is not pure enough. All right, says Nanook. Nanook essentially is destroying because Nanook thinks that the current universe is unpure, and in order to purify the universe, Nanook has to destroy everything, essentially wipe it clean to start anew. But the Annihilation Gang kind of operates under the guise, under this like falsehood of they're here for destruction. They like to destroy things, but it's more for selfish reasons than the reasons that Nanook would be, doing this destroying. It says that they take pleasure in bloody slaughter, some plundering as an excuse for filthy vengeance, and some relying on endless destruction to calm their internal madness. Long story short, they're just bad people, right? They're just bad guys in general. So we can also reference the Penacony set. So if you guys have not looked at the backstory for the Penacony set, it also talks about the family, and obviously it talks about Penacony. So, specifically on this part right here, at the top, everyone knows that under the rule of the family, the doors of Penacony are open to everyone amidst the stars. Surely, we will learn more about this as we are, joining the cast of characters in Penacony, as we travel there ourselves, as we too, the Astral Express has been invited to join in on these festivities. But not only us, who, are universal good guys, so to speak, but even the bad guys, the doors are open to, right? So, now let's move back to the Grand Duke set. Again, looking at the backstory here, and specifically, like, we can tell, this was something that somebody caught during the live stream, Duke Inferno, literally on the top of their head, is the headpiece, is the crown that we see in this set, right? So we've already got some parallels, we've already got some correlation there. If we read through the hands, there's a couple things that we can learn here. That Duke Inferno, one, their real name is Ifrit, like right here. And two, they have been known to destroy things in the past. Taking a look at the second paragraph here. The preciousness of something can only be appreciated in its I can't say that, but basically once it's destroyed, Duke Inferno torched the history and the culture of the planet Lissalit, scorching the brilliant silks of aristocracy. Sorry, I can't talk. Incinerating the long scrolls of poets, raising the vivid murals of the painters to ash. Civilization is like larva. It will only be reborn in a burning execution when it turns into a black butterfly that flutters away into the wind like an undertaker who lowers their head to monitor the crematorium's furnace. Ifrit guides civilizations into their swan song, essentially saying that Ifrit or Duke Inferno shows up to these places and turns them into a burnt disaster, a burnt wasteland. And even says down here, this bottom paragraph, at the end of a satisfying destruction, Ifrit, who again is Duke Inferno, wipes the blood off their hands and dons pristine white gloves again, as if they were an aristocrat attending a banquet. To me, this just means that this is nothing new to homie. Like, he literally goes places, destroys them, all in a day's work, and just gets back to business as usual. So, again, we know that this guy is a bad guy, but he has been invited to this ceremony in Penacony. And now this is where the foreshadowing really comes in. When we take the time to look at the description of the boots, it is literally foreshadowing what's going to happen in Penacony. This second paragraph. Duke Inferno with the crown of fire on his head. Again, we see in the artwork here from the live stream, he's wearing that crown of fire. Is considered by many civilizations as an otherworldly demon, yet there receives an invitation from the planet of festivities. That again is Penacony. Ifrit, aka Duke Inferno, is happy to attend in full ceremonial garb. I will prepare a courteous and thoughtful destruction, and not a single bone will be left behind. The elegant fire demon assembles a cosmic evil and plans the grandiose scene of offering a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood for the banquet. He's literally like predetermining his actions for when he gets here. Those destroyed civilizations are but mere stops on the pilgrimage to destruction, and Penacony, we're calling it out by name now, will be just another pit stop along the way. So this is really just foreshadowing what the mindset of Duke Inferno is. He might be, I assume when we get to Penacony, he's going to be putting on this act, being like, oh, I'm just trying to fit in. I'm here for a good time. Whereas we already know, via the description of the boots from the Ashblazing Grand Duke Set, that homie is plotting to kill everybody. Now, if this wasn't evidence enough, I think that, I think this is evidence enough that homie's going to be bad, but this is where I think we're going to get a couple key players into the plot. So, when we get to Penacony, I foresee that 3 of the characters are going to be like super involved in not only just like the story, but in the battle against Duke Inferno, who again, I think is going to be the main antagonist while we're in Penacony. First up being Black Swan. Okay, we've already talked about Black Swan before. If you guys haven't seen it, we did put out our 5-star March theory. I do think Black Swan will be responsible for triggering March 7th to kind of like, ascend into this 5-star form. And surely March will be a major player in defeating Duke Inferno the same way that we needed Imbiber Lunae to help defeat Fantilia. If you guys want to watch that, that's available on YouTube already. But apart from Black Swan, we're also going to use Acheron and Aventurine as examples here for the plot. One, Acheron is a Galaxy Ranger. Now, if you guys don't know the Galaxy Rangers, they are, essentially an extension of Land the Hunt. We learned from the data bank that not all devotees of the hunt hate abundance. That's talking about the members of the Luofu. But talented rangers exist out there. This group admires Land's policy of using violence against violence. So we've already seen that we're going to have violence coming from Duke Inferno. I don't know if Acheron is going to be there because this is something that the Galaxy Rangers have like predicted. So they're like, hey, we've got to send somebody there to essentially combat this evil. Or if it's just going to be that, hey, the Galaxy Rangers are showing face at this event, and because Acheron is there, Acheron's going to have to spring into action and use violence against violence. But then we also see in the second paragraph that they were formed into a group of heroes. They roam the universe thanks to the blessings of the Eon, and they go from planet to planet, upholding justice for the locals, hunting down evil, and then embarking onward on their journey. So I think this is essentially like guaranteeing us that Acheron will be assisting in taking down Duke Inferno. As a Galaxy Ranger, it's essentially like their calling / their duty. But Adventurine brings another wrinkle into this. I have not yet brought up the Stellaron Hunters, although the Stellaron Hunters were addressed in the 1.6 live stream. Again, like right here, we see that Sunday, addresses the Stellaron Hunters in the same way that he's addressing, that the Annihilation Gang. They have open doors, even though, that gang might not be the best. So, Adventurine, there's two parts to this. Adventurine is a member of the IPC. We know from Topaz's trip to Arillo 6 that Topaz traveled with a lot of IPC guards, right? And that could be because of the business that Topaz was on in case the people of Arillo 6 resisted. I don't want to spoil that story for people that haven't gotten there, but I don't think it would be unusual for Adventurine to be traveling with IPC guards either. Not to mention, Penacony used to be an IPC prison. So we could just see the fact that, it used to be under control of the IPC, that a lot of the IPC guard is there. Now, this is where I think the Stellaron Hunters come into play here. I would like to revisit the Kafka trailer and see if this lands for you guys differently than it did before, okay? We know the Stellaron Hunters are going to be there. We know they're looked at as evil, and we know that Kafka is essentially using us, the Trailblaze, to kind of steer Elio's, predicted destiny, right? We are being used by the Stellaron Hunters to get the outcome that they want. So let's watch Kafka's trailer real quick. So we've got IPC units here. I don't think we knew about the IPC units when this trailer first dropped. So the IPC is out here hunting for Kafka.
Don't be afraid. Listen to me. Wasn't it you who invited me?
So quick pause there. Wasn't it you that invited me? At the time, we couldn't have known this, but I think this is a reference to the Stellaron Hunters being invited to the Reverie Hotel, to Penacony. And now this is Kafka, going off and doing her side mission for the Stellaron Hunters. So wasn't it you that invited me here? And then she's going to go off and she's going to start fighting all these IPC guards. And at first, look at the background. I initially, like most people, was under the assumption that this was in Bellabog's museum, right? So we see art. We'll also see that there's other exhibits, like as we go along. Sorry, bad pause.
The silk is too fragile.
But there's one thing that they focus on here.
Unless you
that kind of changes things.
Silk. Case in point.
One, this is super badass, by the way. But notice this. They make a big emphasis on this elevator. They keep referencing this elevator. Well, we've been in the Bellabog Museum, and I don't remember seeing an elevator. But you know what would have an elevator? A hotel. So is this perhaps the foreshadowing to the Stellaron Hunters operating within the Reverie Hotel while this meeting, while this festival is happening in Penacony? This could be Kafka taking advantage of the chaos brought forth by Duke Inferno and the Annihilation Gang.
Thousands of faces.
And again, that's like right there. We see what I used to think was the Bellabog, museum. We've got all this art. We've got these like display units here. However, it doesn't mean that the Reverie Hotel doesn't have art in it as well.
Thousands of faces. Why does it choose to wear this one?
I mean, and the rest of this is basically just pop-off moment for Kafka. Sick trailer, by the way.
Stealing a glance.
But yeah, that's kind of the point that I wanted to get across with the trailer here. So, not only do I think it is a certainty that Duke Inferno is going to be the main antagonist here, but I think the Stellaron Hunters will be making a move here as well with Kafka. And as a last little thing to like tie up some ends, obviously we're going to win because we are the main character. We are the Trailblazer, right? It'd be crazy if we lost, and died in 2.0. But this was a neat little tidbit that somebody pointed out in chat yesterday. It does look like Black Swan, to tie her back into all this, does have Duke Inferno's skull at the top of her splash art. This could be a little bit of a prerequisite to, again, tie in the fact that when we're in Penacony, Black Swan, Acheron, and Adventurine may be major characters, major players in the plot line. And that is my Penacony prediction for the plot line. What'd you guys think? W's, did I cook, or L's, did you not like it? Let me know.